Welcome back to my gathering basket. My name is Danelle. Thank you for joining me once again today, which is a week late, and I am really sorry. I have been down in Texas visiting my brother again for the week and taking care of, well, maybe not taking care of, but being there with my niece and nephew while my brother and sister-in-law took my oldest niece off to college for her freshman year. So I have had a fun, tiring, full week. And between internet and time and technology, I just wasn't able to get an episode up before I left. So thank you for giving me that extra week. And I actually have a few things to show as a result. So it's getting a little bit late in the evening. The shadows are getting a little bit bigger. I hope this will work. We have literally been home for about 2.5 hours. So threw everything out of the car, grabbed a few things that I worked on while I was gone, and we'll see what I can put out for you today. So let's start with spinning. Actually, let's start with the state fair. I told you last time I had all of my entries together and they were headed to the state fair, and they got there and the judging is done, and I believe state fair actually ends this weekend. I don't know the date for sure, but it should be ending in the next day or two. And I did see some results. I had friends that went up, and actually the people that had taken them up to state fair went back a few days later to watch the sheep judging, and they took just enough pictures to tantalize me. They took some pictures of several things that won ribbons and said there will be more to come. This is enough for now. You can wait for the rest. So, and they do have the results online, but there was kind of a glitch this year, and it seemed like every entry appeared like 3 or 4 times in the results, and it was just really hard to find. So I looked at a few things, just enough to know that I did place well in several areas, and I'm really excited. I won't get my stuff back probably for 2 or 3 weeks at least. So I am looking forward to actually seeing what the results are, but I did have some things that won, so I am super excited. Like I said, I got just enough information to make me super curious now. But just not enough to dig through the whole website and find out for sure how things, and it'll be more fun when they come back and be surprised. So as soon as I know the results, I will show you what happened there. So that's the fair unreport, I guess, for now. But I was able to do a little bit of spinning. I would like to say that this is starting on my entries for next year. I don't know if it really will be. We'll see. I believe last time I said that I was hoping to work on the next natural colored Jacob. I'm still plodding along on the Shave 'em to Save 'em entries that I have for the Livestock Conservancy with all the rare breeds. But I have done so much natural that I wanted a chance to do some color. So I picked up this braid. This is from October House, and it is, I put the tag somewhere, it'll show up. This is 100% Wensleydale, and a couple years ago at Plyaway in Kansas City, I picked up, so I took a class from Jillian Marino, an amazing class, her Yarnitecture class, that is kind of the class that came out of the book that she wrote. And part of that class was just an exploration of different kinds of breeds, different types of wool. And I really liked the Wensleydale. And she said that was one of those breeds that people seem to either really, really like or really, really not. And I was one that liked it. So after the class, when I was visiting the marketplace, I thought that was on my list. I wanted to get some more Wensleydale to practice at home. And sure enough, October House had these gorgeous braids. I believe they were like 5-ounce braids. So I'm about halfway done spinning this. I love the colors in it, just very soft, which October House is known for. And this is, I'm working on my e-spinner. This is an Ashford e-spinner. And really you can only see the blues there, but I have some of the pinks and purples underneath. So I'm spinning this fairly thin, and I'm not entirely sure what I am going to do with it. One thought, I have this other braid, again from October House. I bought 2 braids that year, and this was a blend of these mauves and purples and pinks. Very pretty, very soft again, and still looking for that tag. Here it is. I knew it would show up. Okay, so Wensleydale 100% combed top from October House, and I will try to link her website below. This one, I don't have the tag for this one. I don't remember what this one was called, but this braid, the colorway on that says Romantic Garden. So 100% Wensleydale Romantic Garden colorway. She doesn't put up a lot of fiber in her shop. I don't think. She kind of does from time to time, but the fiber that I have had from her is beautiful. It's well prepped. Colors are just, she's, like I said, she is known, it seems like, for these very muted soft colors. So spinning it fairly fine, doing long draw, kind of I'm not even sure exactly what it fits into, but mostly kind of we'll call it long draw. And it seems to be spinning very nicely. This is a very long fiber staple, you can see there. So it works very slick. I don't need a lot of twist. In fact, with Wensleydale, if you get too much twist in it, it can become ropey very fast, is what I have been told, and from what I've seen, I believe. So I'm spinning it fairly thin with a small amount of twist. What I'm thinking is I may, and when I bought these 2 braids, those mauves pick up from one braid to the other. So I can't decide whether to take the singles. I want to do a 2-ply. Originally I was going to do a singles, but I don't particularly care for knitting singles, working with them. And that's something I probably need to explore a little bit more. So I wanted to 2-ply this to keep it fairly thin, and I think it would be very pretty in a shawl. So I can't decide whether to do like the body of the shawl in this, go ahead and 2-ply this, and I should have enough yardage. I haven't counted it, obviously, I haven't finished spinning, but I should have enough of this that I could do 1 skein in the body of the shawl, and then the other one to edge it is one thought. And I'm not sure which one, I'm not sure which one would be prettier in which. Or the other thought was, I did this 2 years ago, but I'm trying really hard to come as close as I can to the same thickness grist of this one. So I could actually 2-ply the 2 together. I think I'm kind of leaning towards using them separately, I think. If you have some good feedback for me, interesting thoughts, let me know what you think I ought to do with it. I'm just really having fun spinning the Wensleydale. Again, it's not a rare breed necessarily. It's not one of the Livestock Conservancy, I don't believe, but I'm enjoying spinning it. It's a very different feel from the Corriedale and Romney and all that I've been spinning lately. Jacob, all of those. So very different feel, liking it a lot, and it is some color. So I got half of this done before I left, and I need to, it was spinning up very, very quickly. So I'm hoping I can get that done fairly quickly. And then it's on deciding what I want to do with it. So that's what I've gotten done in spinning. And then in knitting, I have a couple things to show you. I had told you last time that I had just about forgotten about my 2 at a time Eeyore's Rainbow. This is from Mustache Yarns. So I took this on my trip with me, thinking that I was at the point where I needed to, and of course being 2 at a time, I've gotten the balls wound up. Here we go. I had never done 2 at a time. This is my first attempt. and I was ready to turn the heels, and I was a little intimidated, and so the project bag just kind of got set away. And I took them with me, and I got the heels turned. So I am ready to just knit all the way down to up to the heel. So very glad to have those done. Again, that's Mustache Yarns in the Eeyores Rainbow colorway, and I'm doing them 2 at a time on US size 0s, I believe. So I am looking forward to getting those done. Now they can be purse knitting, now that it's just a little bit easier and I'm more familiar with the 2 at a time technique. So I have those done, not done, I have the heels done, which I'm very proud of. I did have to separate, I kept them both on the needles, just worked one heel at a time. This was the toe up underbed gusset, that little double gusset underneath, and then a heel flap, just the regular traditional heel flap. And like I said, now I'm ready to go zoom up the legs. So I can take that with me now as purse knitting. So yay for that. And then I also had, and did not bring over, but I had another pair of socks that actually had been living in my purse, but because I was at the heel turn, again, I just had kind of set them, I just had been ignoring them really. So I took that one, and on the trip back today, I was able to get that heel turned, and I am ready to go on that. So hopefully I'll have a couple pairs of socks off the needles here before too long. It's been a while since I've had a sock done. And then my other knitting news, I had shown you my Harriet's hat and said I was hoping to have that done, and I did. So love the top of that, got it all blocked out. Really like the way it turned out. It just softened up. This is the Jamieson and Smith jumper weight, so fingering weight. It was nice to work with. It blocked beautifully. It is so much softer now than it was. Really plumped up. I really, you can see my seam there. Not super happy with that, but for the most part, the hat blocked out. I wasn't sure how it was gonna fit me, but it actually fits amazingly well. So I am super excited about that. And I do think I have enough left over that I could actually do a whole nother hat. So may not do exactly like this, but I might do some, like do the central theme on it or something. We'll see. So that's my spinning, and I think all of my knitting. I was working on crocheting quite a bit, and there's one, I think I told you here a while back that I was working on helping with a design project, and I was able to turn in the pattern this week while I was gone. I used part of my time while I was gone working on the last edits and all for that pattern. That is an amigurumi pattern. It is a sheep, and I hope it is now in the hands of the testers, so I'm hoping here pretty quick I'll be able to actually reveal that and show you what it's like. Turned out pretty cute. I didn't do all the work myself, so I can say that it's really a cool pattern. But I also worked on starting another pot holder. I think I had said I wanted to get some more of those done. I actually finished one while I was gone, and when I put it together, the size wasn't near as big as I thought it would be. So I was down in Texas, and my nephew enjoys knitting, and actually my sister-in-law and my niece are also, I saw some projects around the house, so I think maybe the knitting bug is a little more contagious than I thought, more than just my nephew. So I was pretty happy with that. Oh, and my nephew finished his first project. It was a double wrap infinity scarf, and I helped him sew in the ends, and he wasn't sure what to do with it, how long to make it. So we came up with the idea of making it into a cowl and got it all sewed together, and he actually wore it for a few minutes in 104-degree Texas humidity. That's pretty excited with your first project. So that made me grin so big. Proud auntie moment. So he finished that, but he was watching me work on this pot holder, and when he saw that it wasn't, or when I saw it wasn't big enough, and he said, well, what are you gonna do? He said, I'll use it. And I said, nope, we're gonna pull it out and start over. And he just, I mean, his jaw dropped when he saw me just pull the whole thing out. And I said, well, I could use that, but I think it could be better. So we're gonna redo it. So I took it all out and wound it up against on my skein, and I am started again. So I did not keep any notes from the first one I did. I have no idea what hook I used or how many chains I started with. So I'm gonna try to make some better notes this time. I am working this on a size H hook. This is some Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton. I have no memory what the colorway is. It was just a coral that I kind of liked. So I am just barely started, and this is one of those magic pot holders. And if I can, I'll link to the pattern below. This was something I found on a blog. So that is started, and I am looking forward to getting a few more of those done. That is all the stitching I've done, I think. It's all the yarny stuff. So the other thing that I did while I was gone is worked on some quilting. I packed up. I was trying to get a bunch of quilts ready to put in our local county fair, which is coming up, and I have to take everything and enter it in 4 days. So I had a quilt, the big butterfly quilt that I showed you a while back. I had that all done except the binding, and I was trying really hard to get the binding sewn on so I could take it down with me and do the handwork on the back, attaching the binding on the back. That's my preferred way of doing it. And I didn't get time. And a day before we left, it hit me. I have my little Singer Featherweight. They are designed to be portable. That's what people enjoy using them for, is carrying them to classes and different places. So I packed up my Singer Featherweight and all my quilting supplies that I thought I would need, and we traveled to Texas. So I was able to get my quilt bound, and I'm hoping to get that in the fair. And then I think I had shown you here a while back that I was going to be working on this quilt. And this is actually a fairly large quilt, so what I decided to do was make half of it, so just the 3 trucks like this, and then I'm going to use the other 3, put them in another small quilt, and I'm going to keep one of them, and the other one is going to be a shop sample for the quilt shop that I work at. So I took that with me. I got most of the pieces cut before I left, and then I took them down to do all the piecing because, oh my goodness, there are thousands of pieces in it. So unfortunately, there was one piece that I had miscut, and I didn't take the extra fabric with me, so I couldn't finish the whole thing. But I got a good portion of it done, and you can see, I mean, these are huge blocks, but you can see the truck coming to life there. And so I just have the piece that goes, it's one of these pieces right here that I have to recut, and then I'll put them together, and I have all the arrows done and all of the wheels and the cabs. So basically I just have to cut that one piece and I'll be ready to put this together. So if my week goes the way I would like it to, which, you know, when does that ever happen? But I would like to get this put together and even be able to quilt one and maybe enter one of these as a baby quilt in our fair. We'll see. That might be a little bit over ambitious, but I was able to get that done. And then my niece, she is 17, and she was watching what I was doing kind of out of the corner of her eye, and I just kind of, every time I would start quilting, she kind of appeared. And finally she said something about, I think I'd like to try that sometime. I said, well, here you go, let's give it a try. And I had brought another kit with me for just a very simple quilt that I bought all the materials, kind of put together my own quilt using a panel. And I said, well, you know, I brought this to work on and I wasn't sure I was going to get it done, but if you want to try putting this together, I'll help you and you can have it. So I was very, very glad I did that. She put the whole thing together. I did a little bit of the cutting. I had pre-cut a lot of the pieces before I went down anyway, but she was able to do all the sub-cutting. So basically I had made like my own jelly roll. It was made out of jelly roll strips, which are just 2.5-inch strips of fabric. So she was able to cut all of those in the right size pieces, even though I had not brought the equipment I would have liked to have. I just brought a few things knowing that I could make do with what I had. And so I would have loved to have had some tools down there that would have made it simpler for her. But she did a great job, even with some curveballs that I threw at her. She got it all put together, and I offered to bring it up here and quilt it on my long arm. And I said, but if you want to do it all yourself, you're welcome to quilt it on your sewing machine. So we talked about all the different options, and she decided she would like to try doing straight line quilting on it. That means I didn't have it to bring back that I can show you or my friends at the quilt shop, but I did take a couple pictures, and I'll put some of those in at the end. And we went to a quilt shop and got her the backing, or the batting. I had taken down a backing for her to go with it. And I showed her how to make binding, and she got all of that made, ready to put on. So she is at the point where she just needs to put it in her home machine. We got it all basted together, and she is ready to start quilting. And I showed her some pictures of free motion quilting, and we talked about what she would need for her sewing machine to be able to do that. And she's very interested in trying that. So again, passing on the bug to everybody I can. And then her brother came around the corner and saw the fun she was having and kind of wanted in on the action. So when we went to the quilt store to get the batting, he said, Aunt Danelle, I kind of want to try that too. So we bought him some fabric for a lap quilt, and I am really excited. He got one block completely, I told him we were going to get all the cutting and one block put together yesterday, the day before I left. So I said, if you can stick with me for the afternoon, we'll get all the cutting done and one block put together so that you know how it works when I leave. So he worked on that. And then when I went to bed, he was still sewing. And when I got up this morning before we left, he had half the blocks done. So I am so excited that they are excited about it. In fact, he posted something about it on Instagram to his friends, and it was like, oh, this is cool. I've got him knitting and quilting, and his sister quilting and knitting apparently. Although I don't think she does that just to pass time. I don't think she's as much into it. So it was cool to see her starting on that. While we were at the quilt shop, I couldn't let them have all the fun. I found they had just gotten in a new shipment of patterns, and I found this one. I had been looking at this ever since my enabling friend Tammy had sent me a snapshot, texted me a picture of this, and said, here's a quilt you need to do. And I kind of went, yep, you're right. But I had never seen it in person, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do a PDF download of a quilt pattern. It probably works just fine, but I knew there were some pattern pieces, and I have had trouble with my printer getting things to print to a specific gauge. I guess really, I just like having it in my hand. So I found the chicken pattern. I already have a chicken wire pattern for the quilting. So this is kind of a small quilt. The largest one, which is what's on the cover here, says it's 67 by 74. I'm really thinking I may make this bigger and make it into a bed quilt. So this is going to be on my, number 14 on my queue or something like that. But I was just really excited to have that pattern. This is from Cluck Cluck Sew, is the name of the designer. And I know she has a website and you can get those. And I looked at her website. She had a sale this summer when I was first introduced to this pattern. And there were about 5 I wanted to buy. And that's probably the point at which I just shut down and said, no, I can't buy them all and I can't choose which one. So really excited to have this. And at some point I'll sew it. It's a great scrap quilt. You can make all of those chickens. They're like 12 by 13, I believe it is. And you can make them all with scraps or with fat quarters. So it's one I may just kind of save up scraps to do. I'm not really sure yet. I've got a few more to go ahead of it. Which brings me to what I'm wearing. Like I said, I just got out of the car and jumped in the shower after going out and doing chores real fast. This is a jumper that I made early 80s. I was in elementary school, and I was actually sitting right over there at my grandmother's sewing machine. There was the only place around here to get fabric at that point. Walmart was still very new, and they had a lot of fabric at that point at our store. And this was, I want to say early 80s, when all of the farm animal trend was very popular, and the flour sacks came back. So there was a pattern and all these flour sack reprints, and I wanted one so bad. And my grandmother bought me the fabric and told me I could make my own jumper. So I will stand up. This is, 35 years old or something like that. And the nice thing was the style was for loose and baggy, so you know, it still fits, and that muslin was good muslin, and it has not worn out, so it's still one of my comfort dresses. So I just threw this on because it is hot and sticky here today. We're supposed to be getting thunderstorms later tonight, so it's very muggy and pretty hot. So I just threw this on, and I thought maybe you guys would be interested in that. If I stand up, you can see the whole panel here, so it looks more like the flour sack. And then, and it has pockets because the pattern didn't, but I needed pockets. So I threw pockets into the pattern. And then this is the same panel. You had to buy 2 panels, and I cut out the logo for the flour mill and machine appliqued this on. And it was my very first time doing machine applique. So I was pretty proud of it. My grandmother looked at it and said, "You did a good job for never doing that before." So that was high praise for me at the time. And like I said, it is still one of my, when I just need something comfortable, this comes out of the closet. So, and that was part of why working with my niece and nephew on sewing this weekend it was fun to see them really start to show their creativity in it, and to be able to encourage them in something that hopefully, even if they put it away, and I know they're in busy times in their lives, they probably will not, they may, but they may not carry this on. But it's something that they'll remember. We had a great time. We had so much fun assembling those quilts. So if it stops right there, it's a win, because we had great memories. We will have memories of that time. If it carries on, then they've got a skill for the rest of their life. I am very passionate about teaching kids skills. I'm not a fantastic teacher, but one-on-one, I think I can infect people with my excitement on things. So, and even if they don't continue, it's something they'll appreciate. They will both be able to look at a quilt and kind of be able to tell how it was put together and appreciate the work behind it. So altogether, I think it's a great thing when you can teach somebody. So that is a little bit of my making history and some new history too. I think that might be everything. Part of the reason I was so hot is I went out to check my bees. I had fed them before I left and had not had a chance to really do a good walk through the hive and check out all the frames. So I was looking forward to doing that just as quick as I got back. And I do have to work the next few days, and I knew I wouldn't have a chance. So I went right outside to feed those bees, and you know what? There wasn't a bee left in the hive. We call it absconding. Basically, they packed up their bags and left. There weren't any dead bees. There wasn't any sign of anything getting in. It was just a flat, empty hive. And that happens, especially this time of year. This is kind of what's known as the dearth. Meaning everything is kind of dried up. There's not very good pollen and nectar sources. It's just not for a new home. I'm kind of imagining that they said, we don't have what we need, and we're going to find some place that does. So somewhere in the last 7 days, they packed their bags, and moved out. Part of me is really frustrated, and part of me says, I don't have to worry about this the rest of the fall. So I don't know if I'll try it again in the spring or not. I don't know. I haven't had very good luck where I am. So that gets me out of beekeeping, at least for the winter. Garden is a mess. We've had several inches of rain while we were gone, and things just don't look real great out there. Squirrels got into our popcorn. We put an electric fence around it because we knew they were starting to get into it. And when we pulled in today, the first thing my mom said is, looks like the squirrels finished off the crop. So I don't know how much popcorn is left out there. May not have to worry about that either. So we are getting plenty. I was able to pick, I was anticipating a bumper elderberry crop. I don't remember if I told you this last time, but I was able to get 1 quart of elderberry syrup made, and that was all the elderberries I got this year. So anyway, I had time to do the 1 quart, and I don't really have time to do any more. So I guess that's a win too, right? And those are taken care of for the year. So the only thing I really have left to harvest at this point, we still have some pears that haven't succumbed to disease or squirrels or birds. So we'll see if we get some pears. This will be my first year to get pears off that tree if we do. So, and really, pears are one of my favorite fruit. So I'm really hoping we can get some off of that. So that's all the excitement in my life right now. I would love to hear what you are doing. What are your early fall plans? Have you entered anything into a fair in your area? If so, how'd it go? And I will let you know next time what I have gotten back from the fair and how our local fair went. So I think that's about what I have for you this time. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I will talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye for now.
I've had several people ask me at work about elderberries. I guess I was chatting about them and people said, well, I've never seen an elderberry. What kind of fruit is it? What vine does it grow on? So I thought I'd just, in case you haven't seen them, I thought I'd show you my elderberries. These guys have gotten huge. They are well over, like, almost twice my height. They've gotten massive. I've never seen elderberries this tall. Like, they are huge. They've also done amazingly well this year as far as bearing fruit. All of the, I'm gonna try not to make you sick, but all of these purple, and I know it's bright and sunny, all of these purple branches, the little umbrals, are how the fruit grows. Now down here, get a little closer. So there's the fruit. And if I can, without moving the camera, gives you an idea. There is my pointer finger. And these are the tame elderberries. I have Adams and York, and I'm not sure which bush is which, but they're just little tiny umbrella. And normally, every single one of these little ends would have a berry on it. But birds love them, and so do squirrels, and a lot of other wildlife. So, I am hoping to get enough. There's a few more down here that I can pick easily. So I'm hoping I can get enough that I can actually make 1 recipe of elderberry syrup this year. I don't know. Some of these are still ripening. You can see how they start out green.